What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Thursday night. A series opening loss to South Carolina. We'll get to that here in just a second. I imagine you guys have some thoughts about what just happened there. Pretty just ugly loss for Ole Miss against one of the worst teams in the SEC. And then, of course, the question becomes pitching. Pitching is what everybody's talking about. Now, you only scored 2 runs against a guy with a double-digit ERA in conference play, but still, it is pitching that is drawing the most questions, I think, tonight, and understandably so. And also, we're going to talk about portal activity. Football adds a player in the portal in a position of need, if you believe Lane Kiffin. Also, they lose a player to the portal, which we'll talk about here in just a second. I was always a little confused by that addition, but we'll talk about the subtraction nonetheless. Don't forget, please subscribe, like the channel, all that good stuff. And wherever you get your podcast, just search Rebel Report and subscribe and leave a rating and a review. And this edition of the podcast is brought to you in part by Toyota of Brookhaven. Check them out, Exit 40 in Brookhaven or at toyotaofbrookhaven.com. You don't have to live in the area to get a great car buying experience. I know, I bought a car from a dealership kind of in my backyard, and it was an awful experience. And I would much rather have gone to a place like Toyota of Brookhaven, checked out their online inventory, and made the short drive to get a much better experience and a much better vehicle. Tell them I sent you, and you'll get $1,000 off any in-stock new Toyota. Just, again, tell them I sent you. Or if you're shopping online, use code Rebel Report. Also, I have no idea why my shoulder looks like it's look at that. That's crazy. It looks like you can see through it. I have no idea why that's happening. That's really cool, though. I feel like I'm an alien right now, though. Look at that. That's crazy. Anyway, sorry about that. And sorry to Toyota Brookhaven for completely destroying your ad read, but my shoulder's like invisible right now. But the deals at Toyota of Brookhaven are not invisible. Bam. Nailed it. But seriously, though, Exit 40 in Brookhaven, they have a service department that is excellent as well, one of the highest rated in the state. But again, tell them I sent you, and you will get $1,000 off any in-stock new Toyota. Also have a great used selection there as well. At Toyota Brookhaven, they deliver. So, football first. I know you guys want to talk about baseball. All the comments are about baseball, so that's just we'll dive into baseball after I get the football thing out of the way. Let's start with the player that they lost to the portal, and then we'll get to the one that they gained. According to Matt Zenitz, Ole Miss running back Jordan Simmons has entered the transfer portal. And you might be thinking, Ole Miss has a running back named Jordan Simmons? And if you are thinking that, then you are actually very well within the realm of rationality. Does that make any sense at all? I don't know. But yeah, that was the Akron running back that transferred to Ole Miss back in the winter portal window. He goes through spring practice, and he hits the portal yet again. And, 2 things can be true at once. Ole Miss has now suffered an injury and now a departure from 2 of their transfer pickups in the running back room. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to add a body in the spring window. The numbers in that spot are kind of dwindling a little bit. They need to go add at least a body, I think, in that room, considering what has happened there. This addition always kind of made me scratch my head, to be honest. Not from Ole Miss's perspective. You always want to add depth. If you can add depth from a guy that has Division I experience running the football, pretty good athlete, all that stuff, then of course you add that guy. What I am talking about more so is why would he go to Ole Miss? You would assume, and maybe you shouldn't make assumptions because I made an assumption on the radio show yesterday that was wrong. So joke's on me, but did you expect to play when you transferred to Ole Miss? Like, did you expect to be a guy that was going to win the starting job? Now, we're going to talk in a second about how Ole Miss is unproven at the running back position, but when you look at what they have Logan Diggs returning, and I know he only played in 1 game last year because of that ACL tear when he was at LSU, but an experienced running back with Logan Diggs, with SEC experience, really good player, at least pre-injury anyway. They added a 4-star out of high school that apparently they really, really like. They added Lacey, who was a four-star in high school that spent 1 year at Missouri, who they really, really liked out of high school. Did you? I mean, I don't know that sometimes players going to schools where you've got a stacked room and then they're like surprised when they don't play. Maybe that's not what's happening here. I don't know, but just on the surface, it looks like a situation in which you transferred to Ole Miss. Did you expect to play considering what they already had there? I don't know. Always, I never thought that this was going to be an impactful pickup other than just having depth. And now they need to go at it. But the running back position is the most fascinating one, I think, on the field for Ole Miss. Fascinating being the right word. I'm concerned about the secondary. I'm fascinated with the running back position because, like I just said, on paper, there's a chance that this room has some upside. It mentioned Diggs. I mean, if he is back to 100%, that's an SEC back, all right? You've seen it. He's performed in the SEC. He has the ability to do so. Mills Knight, the uh, freshman from Chattanooga, sorry, had a brain fart there, is somebody that they really like, has a lot of promise anyway from the high school ranks. I know not everybody is Quinshawn Judkins right away, not to pour salt into a wound there, but that is somebody that they really like. Lacey is another one that was a big recruit out of high school. They wanted him badly. They ended up getting him anyway. So on paper, when you look at this room, the upside can be pretty high. At least I think it can be anyway. But also, it's completely and totally unproven, and that's what makes that position group so fascinating. Is there is so much unknown, but so much potential. And it was obviously the team's downfall a year ago. What will it be this season? There's no way to know until it actually happens. But when we spend this offseason talking about this Ole Miss team, people are going to ask about all kinds of things, all kinds of, all that stuff. What's the position group to watch out for? All those questions that you get when you talk to other people and do guest spots on radio shows and stuff. It's what should we look for with Ole Miss? Tell me about Austin Simmons. They love Austin Simmons, but the X factor for this team is going to be the running back position. If they handle that better a year ago, then they're a playoff team. If they're going to meet expectations in 2025, that room has got to be better. That offense needs to run the football effectively, and they could not do it a year ago. And that's why they got bogged down in their losses, mostly because they couldn't run the football not effectively. Of course, that's not just on running backs, but that's the room to watch for this team. So I don't think that this individual player's loss is impactful. It's more about the other three that I mentioned. But that is definitely a position now to keep an eye on. Excuse me, I'm having another brain fart. I'm so sorry. That is a position group to keep a big time eye on this this offseason going into the season. So the portal addition. If you took Lane Kiffin at his word, a few weeks ago, we talked about it right here on this podcast and also on the radio show. He straight up said that they're going to use this spring to evaluate defensive backs in particular. He specifically named that position group and said that some guys are going to need to step up or else they're going to get replaced. And sure enough, they are shopping for defensive backs in the spring portal, and they got one from Clemson. Tavoy Fagan, I believe I'm saying his name correctly. He's got 4 years of eligibility, and I know you kind of roll your eyes at the concept of years of eligibility in the portal era, but redshirted last year for Clemson, was a 4-star recruit out of high school. This is obviously a potential over production type of portal addition, but Lane Kiffin said they needed help in the secondary. On paper, it looked like they needed help in the secondary, and sure enough, they've added at least one. I wouldn't be surprised if more are coming, but they definitely added one, and the potential, the upside with this guy is absolutely there. So that is your football portal update. A running back that think was going to have much of an impact on this team, but they're going to add, and then a defensive back who I expect is going to have some kind of impact on this team because they need help in the secondary. So we'll get to your comments, and I know you guys are going to drive the baseball conversation, so I won't even bring it up until you do. And we'll do that after I tell you the podcast is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online at absms.com. If you are a Mississippi company and you're in the market for office technology, any kind of office technology, copiers and printers, mail machines, cloud storage, data security, IT projects, phone systems, whatever it is, if it's technology, if it's in the office and your Mississippi company needs it, tell them I sent you, by the way. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. So you tell them what you need and what your budget is, and they will find a solution for you. It's Advantage Business Systems, absms.com. The podcast is also brought to you by Priority One Bank. They make you their priority every single day with their online banking platform. It's one-stop shop. All you need is an internet connection. You can do whatever it is that you need to do with your money because Priority One Bank makes you their priority. So here we go to the comments. Baseball couldn't even wait until the Sunday stream for us to start having negative conversations. Another one absolutely embarrassing. Fire Bianco is one, and then let's get into it. Stone for South Carolina had a 10.68 ERA in SEC play and throws an easy, complete game on 86 pitches. The approach to the plate is nothing short of atrocious. And I mean, what was it? 16 pitches to get through his first 6 outs of the game. I mean, what a tone-setting disaster of a start for the Ole Miss bats. Not working counts at all. And that continued really throughout the game. The volume of double plays that they grounded into, it felt like, I mean, it felt like it was happening every single inning. And totally non-competitive at the plate for the second game in a row, which is interesting because, man, I thought offensively they looked really good against Tennessee and that staff, and to turn around and have the game that they had on Kids Day, and then tonight where, they get complete gamed and scatter 6 hits and only score 2 runs, both of which off of solo home runs. Just a totally uncompetitive night at the plate. And now they're kind of in a hole. They've lost 3 in a row. South Carolina's a bad team. You lose another one of these next 2 and you're hosting conversation. The chances to do that could possibly start slipping away. It was a bad night. A bad night to have a bad night for Ole Miss. This was a series that they really needed to get. And the fact that we're sitting here talking about this already is frustrating. There's no doubt it's frustrating. And then here's the other side of it. Hunter pitched better. Morris was amazing as he has been, and our staff only gives up 3 runs and lose. You can't score more than 2. We will continue to lose. And that's the other side of the coin, right? I mean, if you only give up 3 runs against this South Carolina team, you should win the game. So pitching did its job. But that is now 3 weeks in a row where Ole Miss's best pitcher never at any point pitched with the game tied or with a lead. Think about that. Their best pitcher, who has extended, and he may be able to go again this weekend. He only threw, 28 pitches tonight? Is that what this says? 2 2/3, 28 pitches, 6 strikeouts. So I would assume he'd be able to go again this weekend, but he has been absolutely dominant, shutdown type stuff, and he can extend. And Hunter Elliott right now, none of Ole Miss's pitchers are really giving extended outings right now, which is a big problem considering that they have issues with consistency in the bullpen. But I don't think it's a smart strategy now that it's happened again, right? We talked about it after the Tennessee series where I can see both sides of this conversation. But, man, here yet again, your best pitcher who gives you the best opportunity to win games at no point, again, pitched with the game tied or with a lead. And that is mismanagement of your best pitcher at this point. They either need to start him or use him differently because, again, maybe he can go again this weekend, but that's 3 weeks in a row where he's just been absolutely dominant. And nobody else on this staff has been absolutely dominant. You've gotten good stuff from Maddox lately, no doubt, but it hasn't looked like this. And using your best pitcher in losses in which he doesn't give up a run is it's a problem, and they need to adjust their approach, I think, at this point. I've got bugs flying everywhere in here. Must be, that time of year. It's a problem with it being so nice outside is, more casual with the doors, especially my son. We just gotta open the door and go in and out. Got bugs flying everywhere. Don't worry, if Ole Miss can hold opponents to 1 run a game on Fridays, they'll win, no kidding. Last 2 starters against Ole Miss have gone 17 in the third with 4 runs given up. Yeah. Are we sure that Mike Bianco knows what he's doing? It's not even that Hunter Elliott is bad, but the room for error on game 1 is basically non-existent. Mason Morris is gonna have to move into the starting rotation now, yes. I would throw him on. I mean, just go ahead and throw him on Fridays and use Nichols as a guy that comes out of the pen in his role. One guy on this team has shown you that he can extend outings with elite stuff, and he's coming out of the pen in games in which you're losing. Hmm. Between Little Rock and losing this game, one, they're fast on track to falling out of a host. I mean, don't forget, even the Alcorn win dropped their RPIs, so really like the ad football got with the Clemson DB in the portal. That's a guy they can develop with 4 years of eligibility. Maybe they can get one of Cal's 5 running backs in the portal. Yeah, that was wild. I kind of have a feeling that tells you about, you know, everything's crazy and everybody blames the players all the time. The players aren't loyal, blah, blah, blah. If your entire running back room hits the transfer portal, that's a you problem. That's not a player's problem. There needs to be some internal reflection at a place like that. So, with all due respect to Ryan Mormon, he's a non-factor at the plate in SEC play. Federico can go play left field and DH Smithwick instead. It's been a little rough. Theo Vaughn and Lane Kiffin's podcast was literally so good. Kiffin really had changed for the good, at least of how he talks. Yeah, and a lot of people have said it's not an original thought to me that the Lane Kiffin of 2021 is not the Lane Kiffin of 2025. No, the interview was awesome. I mean, I listened to it and I really enjoyed it. You don't get that side of Lane very often, and sometimes, man, comedians can give the best interviews. That's why Pardon My Take is so good, although they're not quote unquote comedians, but their presence, their, as the kids say, their aura, even though I'm not even sure I'm using that correctly, allows people to kind of dress down and relax and be themselves and be comfortable. But no, I thought it was good. I really did. This is going to be harsh, but it doesn't matter how much you love Oxford if you can't beat Kentucky. It's that Ole Miss has given you everything from a football perspective to win at an extremely high level. You have to continue that, right? Last year was not a failure, but it kind of was. And so, it's great that he loves and is embracing the place and he's doing a lot of winning. And I think he's going to continue to do a lot of winning, but he's got to make sure he continues to do a lot of winning because there are no more excuses. It's not little Ole Miss anymore, at least not from a resources perspective. So the expectations have changed, and having the roster that they had and going 9-3 is not good enough. And a 9-win season was worthy of celebration at Ole Miss in years past, but it's, this season, if they win 9 games, then that will be, I think, more than fine. Very a nice transition year. That would be outstanding for a transition year. But, I think that I guess I'm a little bit more cynical than most, but I do think that that's great that you're hearing that because he's done a lot of winning, but the expectations need to be raised. And there were some shortcomings last season. You need to see some improvement in some areas of weakness that you saw in 24 because that roster had no business losing 3 games. And so I am looking forward to seeing if some adjustments have been made in order to make sure that they're more competitive offensively in tight football games, being one. If they're able to manage things like the running back room better, if they're able to improve on the offensive line, stuff like that, if they're able to get better on fourth downs. There was a lot of problems last year, and so I'm looking forward to seeing Lane Kiffin rise up to that challenge because I think he's fully capable of doing so. Do I think this new fake injury ruling is going to change a whole lot? I don't, because the ball doesn't get set right away, so there's still plenty of time to fake an injury, and I think they're still going to happen. It helps a little bit, but just a little bit. Why is Pete Golding not getting head coaching offers? Is he going down the Brent Venables route where he just stays a DC and head coach? Where he just stays a DC and head coach offers? I think I know what you're getting at here. Who's to say he hasn't been presented with opportunities to become a head coach? There is very clearly like an emotional family tie that he and his family have to Mississippi and Ole Miss, and so that's part of it. I do think that whenever the day comes that Lane Kiffin moves on, if he continues to recruit and coach like this, he'll be on the very short list to replace Lane Kiffin. And quite frankly, he's getting paid a whole bunch of money. And the more he continues to coach like this, the more likely he is to land a big job, whether it's at Ole Miss or somewhere else like in the SEC. So why would you leave your $2.5 million, whatever it is, a year job to coach just a defense in a place where your family's extremely happy? At least that's what it seems like anyway. That's what they say. To go coach, Kent State or something, right? I have a feeling that the expectation is that he will be the next head coach at Ole Miss, and so they're waiting on that. Could be wrong, but how about the national media acting like Nico's the first player to do this to his team? Judkins was holding out in between drives at Ole Miss. We talked about this before, but you may have missed it. The difference is Ole Miss didn't leak anything. Ole Miss protected Judkins, frankly, up until when they broke up. But in the meantime, they protected him. They did not let the holdout before the Georgia Tech game leak. That didn't get out. I mean, I guess some people knew, but that didn't get out, right? That didn't get to Pete Thamel or whoever. They protected him. That they didn't leak before the Peach Bowl that there was more. They didn't do. Ole Miss did none of that. They didn't fight that battle publicly, and they only started fighting that battle publicly after he left. So Tennessee got out ahead of it, whereas Ole Miss was protecting him because they expected him to return until they ultimately chose to break up. That was the difference. That's why the national media didn't cover the Judkins thing. They didn't know about it until the end. Ole Miss didn't do at least 3 double plays tonight, maybe 4. I lost count. Chasing early pitches and hitting soft ground balls has been a death sentence the last 2 games. Yeah. You've heard John Summerall's next in line for the Ole Miss job. If I know anything about Keith Carter, he does not have a named coach in waiting. There will be a lot of people that will, whenever the job comes open, if Summerall is still at Tulane, will want him, understandably so, because he'd be great to be the next head coach at Ole Miss. I don't think that there is any kind of coach in waiting situation like that, especially with his ties to Kentucky as well. South Carolina doesn't even have that much energy in their baseball team. They just let the Ole Miss bats give the game to them. Yeah. They have to back in the other 2 games of the series. Yes, they absolutely have to. Why isn't Moore starting yet? Stubbornness. I mean, it's not like Maddox and Nichols have been bad lately, but Ole Miss pitchers have not extended into games. That's been a big problem. I think Tennessee's messing with this team's psyche. That Sunday game was an absolute backbreaker. It's entirely possible that did that. I think if they lose this series, you're stopping with talk of regional hosts, and then the reply is you should stop already. They would just get embarrassed anyway. See, I don't agree with that. I don't think they get embarrassed. I do think that this is a good team that has some flaws, and there something is wrong at the moment. But if they were to host a regional, they wouldn't play Tennessee or Arkansas. They would get Southern Miss as their 2 seed with Stetson as their 4, and I don't, you see Santa Barbara or something as their 3, and it wouldn't be what they're facing, even with the tough loss that they just suffered tonight. I don't know. An altered weekend rotation could be Morris, Elliott, Maddox. Maybe Nichols could follow. Yeah. Please tell me why we play Alcorn in the midweek. It hurt the RPI to win and lose. I think it's just as simple as they got to get the games in and they want to help out an in-state school. They need to find a better way to help, because those games, as I think we talked about it, nobody accomplished anything that night, Say Theo Vaughn's much better at podcasting and back and forth conversations. His show at the Pavilion was okay. It dragged on too long after the first hour. His comedy isn't as well suited for that. I do like him better in podcast form or like interview form for sure. 2024 should have won at least 10 games, and the 22 team really blew an opportunity to get to 10 wins as well. I expect this team to be capable of getting close to that point, especially with the schedule. Defensively, sorry, I can't even read tonight. I'm just a mess. I need to go to bed. I need to go to bed. It's 8:30, and I'm talking about going to bed. What a loser I am. I don't know why you guys listen to me. Luckily, there's not many of you. The 24 offense is debatably the worst Kiffin has had in his 5 seasons. That Arkansas game was the outlier. Yeah, and that really carries a lot of statistical weight as well. But yeah, I do think it's the worst offense he's had. Worse than 22. Yeah, definitely. Go ahead and make the prediction now. The 2025 offense will be better in SEC play than 24. I agree. I actually think that will happen. 23.8 points per game in the other 7 games besides Arkansas. There you go. Truly think if we lose the series, hosting is over because Auburn is looking better and better. State somehow that's in Starkville as well, and they're playing better lately too. Oklahoma's on the road and will be tough, and Vandy isn't a pushover. Yeah, look, if you're not beating South Carolina, then you probably aren't going to be a host, even though they'll still be in that conversation. But yeah, losing this series would be a pretty dramatic hit to that. Although I do think they're going to win this series still because of how bad South Carolina is. And this team so far this season has overcome some adversity, right? You've seen it, that suffered that game 1 loss against Tennessee, came back the next day, played well, right? That did that with Kentucky as well. I mean, lost that first game, turned around immediately in the doubleheader and played well and won that series. So they've overcome some adversity like this, but we'll see. They have been mentally tough to this point, and now they're in a spot, right, that they're in. It's just kind of like a gut check moment, having lost 3 in a row, 2 really bad losses in a row, and we'll see if they can overcome it. We'll talk about that on Sunday. I'll see you guys then. I appreciate you being here as always, but I got to run, so I'll see you guys Sunday, usual time. It's Easter Sunday. We'll go live Easter Sunday. That'll be okay. All the festivities are done by then anyway. So I'll see you guys then.